His buyout clause is $1.1 billion. He is 18 years old, he is injured, and Spain's entire World Cup depends on whether his hamstring holds. But here's what almost nobody knows. Barcelona signed him for the entry fee of a youth tournament. No money, no transfer, a tournament entry. That is the cheapest $1.1 billion investment in the history of football. And it almost didn't happen. Before we get to the story, there is one detail that changes how you see everything else. When Lamine Yamal was 4 months old, his father took him to a UNICEF photo shoot in Barcelona. The babies were lined up, and standing next to them, smiling for the camera, was Lionel Messi. The photograph sat quietly on the internet for years. Nobody cared. Nobody even noticed. Then the boy grew up. And on the night he scored the goal of Euro 2024, the night he became the youngest goal scorer in European Championship history, that photograph went viral across the entire world. Football had written the caption before anyone knew the story. But how did he get there? And why did Barcelona take a risk on a child they had never seen play a competitive match? In 2014, Barcelona's academy received a scouting report from Mataró, a town just outside the city. The report said one thing: there is a child here who is different from everyone else in his age group. His name was Lamine Yamal. He was 6 years old. Jordi Rora, director of Barcelona's academy, invited him to the Ciutat Sportiva for a trial session. He watched for 30 minutes. What he saw settled it immediately. But Barcelona had a problem. Yamal was playing for a local club, CF La Torreta, in Granollers. And clubs don't simply hand over their best talent, even at youth level. So Barcelona made a deal. They would participate in a local youth tournament, providing their academy teams to compete. In exchange, they got the right to sign Lamine Yamal. No money, no compensation. A tournament entry. Barcelona thought they were getting a talented child. They had no idea they were about to make the greatest non-financial investment in the history of La Masia. Yamal joined at age 7, and the moment he arrived, the coaches knew something was different. Not just his dribbling, not just his pace, his decision-making. At 10 years old, he was processing situations the way experienced senior professionals do: when to drive forward, when to recycle, when to wait. Coaches who had spent decades at La Masia said they hadn't seen anything like it. But there was one question nobody could answer yet. Would it translate when the pressure was real? Xavi Hernandez, Barcelona's manager, had been watching Yamal in academy sessions for months. He kept pulling him into first-team training, testing him, pushing him. In April 2023, still just 15 years old, Yamal made his senior debut against Real Betis. He became the youngest player in La Liga history to represent Barcelona. Weeks later, he scored against Granada, the youngest scorer in La Liga history. Within 12 months, Barcelona set his buyout clause at $1.1 billion. The club that had given up a youth tournament entry to sign him had decided they could never let anyone near him again. And that's when the Spanish national team came calling. In October 2023, at 16, Yamal became the youngest player to ever represent Spain. A record that had belonged to Gavi, himself a La Masia graduate, himself a generational talent, was gone within seconds of Yamal touching the ball. Spain's fans were cautious. They had seen young talents arrive quickly before. They had seen them burn out. They had seen the pressure of the national shirt swallow players hold. Nobody was ready for what happened next. July 9th, 2024, Munich. Euro 2024 semi-final. Spain versus France. France led 1-0. Kolo Muani, 8th minute. Mbappe with the assist. The most talented squad in international football doing exactly what they were supposed to do. Then, in the 21st minute, Yamal received the ball 25 yards from goal. He took 2 touches. He faked right. He set himself on his left foot. He curled it. Into the top corner. Off the inside of the post and in. The stadium erupted. Commentators screamed. And for 30 seconds, nobody watching could quite process what they had just seen. He was 16 years and 362 days old, one day before his 17th birthday, the youngest goal scorer in the history of the European Championship, a record held since 2004. Spain went 2-1, up 4 minutes later. France couldn't come back. 4 days later, on his actual 17th birthday, Yamal played in the Euro 2024 final against England. Spain won 2-1. He assisted the winning goal. He became the youngest player in history to win a major international tournament. And the UNICEF photograph of baby Lamine, 4 months old, sitting next to Lionel Messi, spread to every corner of the internet within hours. Football had written the story before anyone knew it was happening. The cost of arriving this fast, this young, is always paid eventually. After Euro 2024, Yamal entered his first full season as the most watched 17-year-old in football history. He played over 60 games. Barcelona won a domestic treble. He won the Copa Trophy for the second year running. Every club in Europe watched him. Every scout filed a report that said the same thing. Every report landed at the same conclusion: untouchable. But the mileage was real, and in October 2025 it caught up with him. A groin injury, pubalgia. Weeks out. He recovered, returned for the PSG Champions League match, and immediately re-aggravated it. What happened next, nobody expected. Hansi Flick, Barcelona's manager, went public. He said Spain had failed to protect their young players, that the national team's schedule was putting Yamal at risk. De La Fuente, Spain's manager, fired back publicly. A war of words club versus country over the body of an 18-year-old boy. Then, on April the 22nd, 2026, it happened again. Barcelona versus Celta Vigo. Yamal converted a penalty and immediately went down clutching his hamstring. He said afterwards, "I was praying inside for it not to be serious because I knew the World Cup was very close." Barcelona confirmed a hamstring injury. He would miss the rest of the season. The Clásico against Real Madrid, the day Barcelona clinched La Liga, he watched from the stands. Barcelona gave Spain the green light to use him at the World Cup, but with conditions. A maximum of 15 minutes in the opener against Cape Verde on June 15th. Up to 60 minutes in the second match. Only by the third group game would he be ready to start. Spain's first World Cup in 16 years. Their most important player managed in 15-minute increments. He has since returned to training with the squad. De La Fuente says he's optimistic for the opener. But the question is no longer whether Yamal plays. The question is whether Spain can actually win a World Cup if he's only ever half himself. Here's the real weight of what we're watching. Yamal is 18 years old. The 2026 World Cup is his first. The 2030 World Cup, he'll be 22. The 2034 World Cup, 26. He is not playing in one tournament. He is playing for the next 15 years of international football. Spain has gone 16 years without a World Cup. Every year since 2010, Xavi, Iniesta, Villa, the whole generation has been a slow exhale. A wait for the next one. Yamal is the next one. And Barcelona, the club that gave away a youth tournament entry to sign him at 7 years old. The club that set his buyout clause at $1.1 billion. They built their entire future around this moment too. The signing nobody understood in 2014 has become the most important football decision of this decade. If Yamal's hamstring holds, Spain will win this World Cup. If it doesn't, 16 years becomes 20. That is what was signed at a youth tournament in 2014. They just didn't know it yet. So is Yamal already the greatest teenager in the history of international football? Or does he need a World Cup to prove it? Drop your verdict in the comments. And if you want every Spain update, every injury report, and every match breakdown covered live as it happens, hit subscribe. The tournament starts June 11th. Yamal's story is just beginning.